And we are back to What Did AI Say? At VickyL-4AI on YouTube. Thank you so very much for coming back to the podcast. And as always, gratitude is the attitude. Let's go ahead and jump right into today's episode number 64. And what is today's question? What did we ask AI? Here we go. How detrimental is self-love in building an individual's character, empathy, sympathy, and morality? Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, as always, we're going to start with Chatgpt. Self-love is not inherently detrimental to character, empathy, sympathy, or morality. In fact, healthy self-love is often foundational to them. Okay, I was scared for a minute there. Let's continue. What can be harmful is distorted self-love when it becomes narcissism, entitlement, or moral exceptionalism. The impact depends on how self-love is defined and practiced. 1. Healthy self-love is generally beneficial. Healthy self-love means self-respect without superiority, awareness of one's worth and one's limitations. Ooh, that's a big one. Let's repeat that. Awareness of one's worth and one's limitations. Okay. Responsibility for one's actions. Care for one's well-being without ignoring others. Effects on character. Encourages integrity. You don't need to deceive to feel worthy. Supports resilience and accountability. Makes growth possible because flaws aren't existential threats. Okay. Effects on empathy and sympathy. People who can tolerate their own pain are better able to sit with others' pain. Secure self-regard reduces defensiveness, making perspective taking easier. Self-compassion often generalizes into compassion for others. Okay. Effects on morality. Moral action becomes internally motivated, not fear-based. Less need to justify harm to others to protect ego. Oh, that's a good one too. That's very good. Less need to justify harm to others to protect ego. Supports ethical consistency. If I deserve dignity, so do you. In psychology, this aligns with secure self-esteem, which correlates with empathy, prosocial behavior, and moral reasoning. 2. When self-love becomes detrimental. Self-love turns harmful when it shifts into self-centeredness or moral exemption. We should all know about that by now. Forms that undermine character and morality. Narcissistic self-love. My needs override yours. Fragile ego self-love. Self-worth dependent on superiority or validation. Moral licensing. Because I'm good, because I'm suffering, because I'm special, I'm allowed this harm. Interesting. Consequences. Reduce empathy. Others are tools, threats, or mirrors. Instrumental sympathy used only when it benefits the self. Moral inconsistency and rationalization of harm. Inability to accept accountability or guilt. Inability to accept accountability or guilt. I don't get it. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. What is the big deal about accepting accountability for a mistake that you made? Or working through guilt and moving on? I don't understand what the big deal is. Learn the lesson. Accept the fact that you did something that was wrong or may have harmed someone. Make amends for it and move on. It's just that simple. If you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. And when you don't learn, that's when You're saying the same exact thing now that you said 30 or 40 years ago. You have the same exact mindset now that you had 30 or 40 years ago. You believe the same exact thing that you believed 30 or 40 years ago. There has to be growth. I mean, let me rephrase that. For some people, there has to be growth. I guess for others, they can live a life with no growth, which to me is just a wasted existence. But that's just me. Okay, so sorry, I got off on a tangent there. Let's continue. Okay, in these cases, what's called self-love is often fear of worthlessness disguised as confidence. I believe that. Number 3, no, self-love is also harmful. Importantly, the absence of self-love is not morally superior. Low or absent self-love often leads to people-pleasing rather than genuine empathy, resentment that erodes compassion over time, moral rigidity or self-punishment projected onto others. Let's repeat that one. Moral rigidity or self-punishment projected onto others. This is what I feel the evangelical government that we currently have is doing. Due to their moral rigidity or their self-punishment, because they're hiding desires and things that they can never bring to light. They project these things onto other people who are different, considered minorities, etc. Interesting. Let's continue. Burnout in caregiving and ethical action. Someone who hates themselves may act morally, but often from fear, obligation, or identity defense, not compassion. Okay, number 4, the moral sweet spot. I like that title. Let's see what that has to do with. The most ethically generative stance is self-love that is bounded by humility and shared humanity. Key features: I matter, and so do you. Willingness to feel guilt without collapsing. I don't know why people collapse under guilt. I just don't understand. Capacity to forgive self without excusing harm. Capacity to forgive self without excusing harm. That's huge. Recognition that dignity is not a zero-sum resource. Philosophically, this appears in Aristotle's proper self-love, Buddhist compassion practices, Kantian dignity applied universally, modern care ethics, bottom line. This is Chatgpt's bottom line. Healthy self-love strengthens character, empathy, and morality. Excessive or distorted self-love undermines them. No self-love at all also degrades ethical capacity. Self-love is not the enemy of morality. Unchecked ego and unexamined fear are. That's what it is. Unchecked ego and unexamined fear. They are the enemies of morality. Let me repeat that entire last line there. Self-love is not the enemy of morality. Unchecked ego and unexamined fear are. That's huge. That is huge. Okay, Chatgpt also asks if you'd like, it can explore this through a psychological lens, a moral philosophy comparison, religious or cultural perspectives, real-world examples, for example, leaders, caregivers, social movements. Just tell it what angle you want, and it can do a deep dive for you onto that subject. Okay, I thought Chatgpt was pretty good. Okay, now I'm really excited because Deepseek is usually really a bit more in depth than Chatgpt. So let's go ahead and see what Deepseek's answer is. And just in case you forgot the question, let me repeat it. How detrimental is self-love in building an individual's character, empathy, sympathy, and morality? Okay, here's Deepseek's answer. This is an excellent and nuanced question. The impact of self-love on character, empathy, sympathy, and morality is not a simple matter of good or bad. Its effect is entirely dependent on how self-love is defined and practiced. Okay. When understood correctly, self-love is foundational and beneficial to these traits. When misunderstood as narcissism or selfishness, it becomes severely detrimental. Oh my gosh. Deepseek just said a mouthful right there. Okay, let's continue. Let's break it down by concept. The beneficial, healthy self-love, the foundation. Okay, it refers to it as the foundation, just like ChatGPT did. Okay, this is self-love as self-respect, self-acceptance, and self-compassion. It's the secure knowledge of one's own worth, coupled with a commitment to one's well-being and growth. 1. Character. A person with healthy self-love has a stronger, more integrated character. Integrity. They are less likely to compromise their values to seek external validation. Let's repeat that. Integrity. They are less likely to compromise their values to seek external validation. Resilience. Self-compassion allows them to learn from failure without collapsing in shame, fostering perseverance. You hear that? Learn from failure. I don't get the collapsing in shame part. Responsibility. They take responsibility for their actions and growth because they believe in their own agency. Okay, yes, absolutely. People who don't take responsibility for their actions, to me, are those type of people I don't want anything to do with, because they're never going to be honest about the things that they do. They're never going to take responsibility. So I don't see how I don't get how people live in that headspace. That makes no sense to me. Okay, let's continue. Number 2, empathy. Understanding others' feelings. A secure sense of self is crucial for true empathy. You cannot consistently attune to the inner world of others if you are consumed by your own insecurity, your own self-loathing, or need for validation. Your own noise drowns out their signal. A person who accepts their own flaws is better able to hold space for the flaws of others without judgment. 3. Sympathy. Feeling concern for others. Sympathy flows from abundance. The well of care and concern must first be filled for oneself. As the common analogy goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. Ain't that the truth? You can't pour from an empty cup. Self-compassion directly trains the neural pathways for compassion, making it easier to extend sympathy to others. That is major. Let's read that again. Self-compassion directly trains the neural pathways for compassion, making it easier to extend sympathy to others. 4. Morality. Many ethical systems, like Kant's, are built on the principle of treating persons as ends in themselves, not means. This starts with seeing yourself as an end. Recognizing your own inherent dignity makes it logical to recognize it in others. Moral courage often requires the self-respect to stand up for what's right, even at personal cost. This reminds me of the gentleman, the union worker from Ford, who spoke out to Trump. That's moral courage. Often requires the self-respect to stand up for what's right, even at personal cost. He was suspended, but I just saw today that 800,000 was raised in a GoFundMe for him. Moral courage often requires the self-respect to stand up for what's right, even at personal cost. Okay, let's continue. The detrimental, unhealthy self-love, narcissism, egoism. And I'm sure we all know what that looks like in this day and time. This is self-love distorted into self-absorption, entitlement, and superiority. It's an inflated self-view that requires constant validation and denies flaws. Let me repeat that. This is self-love distorted into self-absorption, entitlement, and superiority. It's an inflated self-view that requires constant validation and denies flaws. 1. Character. This erodes character. Lack of integrity. Values shift to serve the ego. The character becomes situational, focused on image over principle. Fragility. Criticism is seen as a threat, leading to defensiveness and an inability to grow. Fragility. Isn't that what we saw when Trump gave the union worker the finger and cursed him out? That's our president. Wow. Let's read that again. Fragility. Criticism is seen as a threat, leading to defensiveness and an inability to grow. An inability to grow. You really have to think about that, an inability to grow. I saw I guess they would call it it was a video of Trump's interviews from 32 years ago till now. It was all combined on one video. And the reason for the video was to show that he has an inability, or he does not have the ability to grow, or he has he is unable to grow, basically. He was saying the same exact thing, same exact mindset, and that is, to me, absolutely scary. I don't know if I can think about any subject matter that I thought about 30 years ago that I still have the same opinion on. It's like I have learned so much and experienced so much and have been blessed to have been able to travel. It's like so many of my mindsets have changed because of the new information. So how do you go on for 30, 40, 50 years and not grow at all? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Okay, let's continue. So we said fragility a couple of times. Let's move on to blaming. Failures are externalized to protect the fragile self-image. So that's when you play the blame game. 2, empathy. This is where it is most destructive. Narcissistic self-love actively inhibits empathy. Others are seen primarily as sources of admiration for grandiose types, or as threats for vulnerable types. So what if you have a grandiose and vulnerable in the same body? Their inner lives are irrelevant. The focus is so intensely inward that there is no psychic space to accurately perceive another's emotional state. Wow. So you look at people and you have no idea what their emotional state is because you just don't care that much. Crazy. 3, sympathy. Sympathy is often absent or performative. Often absent or performative. And for what we've seen These days, it's completely absent. Concern for others is calculated. How does helping you make me look or feel? I think the only concern that was performative that we've seen shown is when Charlie Kirk was murdered. Acts of kindness may be transactional, aimed at garnering praise or indebtedness. 4. Morality. Morality becomes self serving. The foundational question shifts from is this right to is this good for me? Or does this make me look good? It can justify exploiting others if it serves the ego's needs, violating core moral principles of fairness and respect. Key distinction: the bridge versus the fortress. Healthy self love is a bridge. It connects a secure inner self to the outer world, allowing for genuine, open hearted engagement with others. Unhealthy self love is a fortress. It is a defensive structure built to protect a fragile or inflated ego. The walls separate the individual from true connection, and others are seen either as admirers or invaders. Ooh, that was a very good metaphor. The bridge versus the fortress. Let's read through that again. Healthy self-love is a bridge. It connects a secure inner self to the outer world, allowing for genuine, open-hearted engagement with others. Unhealthy self-love is a fortress. It is a defensive structure built to protect a fragile or inflated ego. The walls separate the individual from true connection, and others are seen either as admirers or invaders. In conclusion, okay, we have made it to Deepseek's conclusion. True self-love is not detrimental. It is essential. It is the psychological bedrock upon which strong character, deep empathy, authentic sympathy, and consistent morality are built. The popular critique of self-love culture is often a critique of its shallow, performative, or narcissistic impersonators. The ancient dictum, know thyself, and the modern concept of love thyself are partners. Know thyself. Hey, wasn't that what was up on the wall in the Matrix when Neo went to visit the Oracle? Know thyself. I think it was. Okay, to build moral character and deep connection with others, one must start with an honest, compassionate, and respectful relationship with oneself. The detriment comes not from self-love, but from its counterfeits, self-worship and self-obsession. Okay, both of those were very good. I'm extremely impressed. You know, something I was just thinking about, I see a lot of commercials online sometimes that say, don't just ask AI a question. You need to learn how to do this and do that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying that that's not true. But a lot of times, just asking AI a question, at least from my experience, can really give you a different perspective and some insight into, more in depth into what you're thinking about or what you're studying. So, I mean, just asking AI a question is not a bad thing. So, okay, so how does any of this information affect our daily lives? Well, I think that it most definitely gives us a better perspective as to what we're seeing play out in this Trump administration, for sure. I've always felt that people who don't have healthy or any self-love are really cruel people. And that's been my life experience. You can just feel the authenticity of people who actually do respect and love themselves, because that actually pours out of them. It's in their energy, and you gravitate towards them if you're like them. you gravitate towards them. But a lot of times too, if you're narcissistic, you gravitate towards them too because you want to, use and abuse. But we won't go into that. But I think most of the people watching the podcast get what I'm saying. You can feel it. And if you slow down, pull yourself back from the hustle culture, and start to be present in your interactions, you develop your sixth sense or your intuition, start developing that again, then you can better shield yourselves from the narcissistic people or the ones who are just pretending to have self-love in order to trap you or get close to you so that they, can try to derail you or trap you. So I think that was a very good question, and I hope that everybody who has the opportunity to watch the podcast really gets something out of that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our positive saying for today. And this one is coming from, let's see, because sometimes I can't read my writing because it's so small. Saguru. Okay, destiny is what you create for yourself. Fate is Fate is when you fail to create your own destiny. That's a good one. Let me repeat that. Destiny is what you create for yourself. Fate is when you fail to create your own destiny. That's good. That's a good one. Okay. That is all I have for you in this episode number 64. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And we the people have the power. Peace.